I think my favorite thing was up next.
Well, yes, and I must admit that I didn't see this coming because they set it up on a previous show, but it was Andre Olio and whoever was with him and the Lucha Brothers, and I didn't understand, and I never have one single word in English or Spanish that Andre has ever said, so therefore I didn't know this was coming, but they did the old tag team under the mask switcheroo deal with the heels. It works with baby faces or heels. Remember, the Midnight did that on Mid-South Television with the Rock and Roll Express when supposedly we were meeting Mr. Wrestling 1 and 2. And when they come in, they don't what the fuck? And they throw the robes on. It's the Rock and Roll Express. Oh, shit.
Because you had a list of opponents. You said you would wrestle 3 times, I think, on TV, and you had a list of opponents. And, of course, the good teams were all off the lists.
Yeah, well, we'd already beaten all of them. So we fought like, George Weingroff and John King and so-and-so and such, and Tits McGee may have been in there, and then came Mr. Wrestling 1 and 2. Well, in this case, it was FTR led to the ring in these green outfits, La Super Ranas. Did they say that means frogs? The Super Frogs? Or I don't know what the fuck. But anyway, but here's the thing. I don't know what, maybe they didn't clue the announcers in on what they were going for, the point of this, because Punk had to be the one to out FTR, but say, guys, this is clearly FTR. And Tony Schiavone was kind of like, well, we don't know for sure, or something like that. Is that what you were hearing?
It was weird.
Like they would have all been on the same page as this because it was obviously FTR in green outfits.
Because right around the point in time where I was thinking to myself, is it supposed to be obvious that it's FTR?
Yeah.
CM Punk said it's obviously FTR, but then still Excalibur and the boys were still pretending like they didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, Punk was getting blowback for having the power of fucking vision. I don't, But this match was for the AAA tag team title, because the Mexican company, for those not familiar, because the Lucha Brothers are not only the AEW champions, but the AAA champions. So the AAA belts were on the line here, and those belts look like license plates compared to the AEW belts. But anyway, they actually started wrestling. FTR are magicians. They can get something out of anybody. And in the first segment, they had some wrestling, and then they went for one of the Lucha Brothers masks, and they turned the tables, and they popped FTR's hoods right for the break spot. They popped both the hoods at the same time. So that probably made them feel a lot better, because if you're not used to wrestling in a mask, it's miserable. Anyway, they come back from the break, and FTR have been in charge apparently during the commercial break, but immediately Penthouse on the other side of the break comes back, and they did a heck of a spot. I will go for this. It doesn't have to be constant. It doesn't have to be repetitious. It doesn't have to be completely without logic, but a nice fucking move like what they did, the flying gymnastics. Felix runs down the ramp. Penthouse stands there and vaults him up over his head onto the top rope, and he comes off with a missile drop kick, 1 foot to both members of FTR. That was a great spot. It worked out. Nobody fell on their ass. It didn't look phony, and it got a big pop. Then Felix made the big comeback, and Penthouse, they did like the Dudleys thing where Bubba Ray would hold the guy's legs up and Devon would do the headbutt off the top into the guy's nuts. But what Penthouse did was come off the top and drop kick both guys in the nuts right in front of the referee. And JR said, was that a low blow? Like, he still, after 2 years, he still doesn't get that they're just going to do this shit regardless, right? And whether it makes any sense or not. But anyway, the Lucha Brothers started doing their shit, but FTR was getting a match out of these guys that made sense in still letting them do their stuff. There was still too much four-way in front of the referee, but at least all the shit looked real good. And FTR were there for it, and there wasn't everybody falling all over the top of each other. And they did some more shit that I couldn't keep track of, and then Tully ran down and drew the referee, and Dax grabbed one of the belts and hit Felix while he was coming to do a thing, and they hit a finish on him. Boom, 1, 2, 3. And they're the new AAA Tag Team Champions. And I like their new music, too. It sounds familiar. But, so, okay, I'm not going to complain. They got a good match out of the Lucha Brothers. They beat somebody, even if it wasn't for the real tag team title. It was for a tag team title. They can crow about that. They're heels. And hopefully this means that they'll be next in line to relieve Penthouse and Felix of their other jewelry. But, I mean, I think this is probably as good as the Lucha Brothers could ever be. I've never seen them in a match where they did their shit, but it still made, for the most part, sense. What do you think?
I love this whole segment. The match was enjoyable. I've liked the Lucha Brothers, specifically Phoenix, a little bit more than you traditionally in the past, but I really like this. I like the helplessness on Alex Abrahante's face as everything was transpiring. Little things like that. It plays into a bigger story. We find out with MJF and Andrade, which leads to Andrade almost being bearable on the mic for a moment. But this was great. And I think, you know, we've had so many complaints for a while. And even a few weeks ago when I brought up that things look to be changing, you jumped all over me. But there has been a change in the way.
It was that. Wait a minute. Was that a backhanded I told you so slid in there?
I don't know, backhanded or overhanded. I don't know how you want to consider it.
Backhand,
forehand, but
knife edge.
But
knife edge. I told you so. Oh, right to the throat.
They started giving them some matches, and although they did the job to Sting, it was the best match Sting has had in a long time. He looked great. The fans were into it. It was a special New York show. I could forgive that. Everyone they put in the ring with FTR in the last 2 months has looked better with FTR than they have with anyone else, in my eyes. They're getting over. They're a part of something with MJF, so they're always tied into that, so they're always on the heel side, so that's good. People were into this. I'm happy with this. I'm happy. They may not be the World Tag Team Champions right now, and they may not be kicking the shit out of the Cucamonga Kids, but I'm happy with the way FTR has been used, I don't know, for the last 6 weeks, 2 months, somewhere in there.
With a lot of...
No excuses for how they were used for the first year and a half, 2 years.
No, that's what I'm saying. And later on with Miro, I'm just like, wait a minute. These guys that can do this, and for however long they were doing that and the other, I have never... All right. Anyway, next up was Tony Schiavone. Tony... I know the interviews are pre-taped that are in the back, but they're playing them as live. Does anybody ever wonder how Tony Schiavone is a 60-something-year-old man, never out of breath, even though he's in every fucking segment, every scene? He did every interview in the back. Then they come out and he's out at the fucking table. I mean, so anyway, Tony was in the back with Leo and Dante. Leo and Dante. Sounds like a takeoff on Mephisto and Dante, which was Dennis Condrey's first tag team, by the way. Mephisto and Dante. He and Joe Turner, Joe Sky, his father-in-law, were the masked Mephisto and Dante for Leroy McGurk in late 72. Anyway, so basically Leo Rush is saying, well, Dante Martin failed tonight, and he knows that. Due to his own doing, he realizes that. But I'm going to take care of this because I'm going to be his new tag team partner. And it's news to Dante. So that's why I'm saying, I don't, are they trying to insinuate that Dante is so gullible that he doesn't realize what this guy is doing to him when they've got no long-term friendship. They've got nothing that bonds them together. Why didn't he just tell this guy to piss up a rope and hit the bricks? I don't know.
I don't think they've necessarily played him as gullible yet. He's been apprehensive, and maybe this is some way, and it may not be the way I think it should be, and who knows how it'll play out, but maybe it's some way of getting him back with his brother when he comes off the injury list and putting them into something with Leo and a partner. And based on size and everything else, if you're going to have Leo wrestle and style, maybe those are the guys you have him wrestle. Maybe it'll be good.
Yeah. Maybe I won't come in your mouth. All right, then. Tony Schiavone was with FTR and Andre Olio and MJF in a stairway. And MJF took the payoff and hugged Andre for loaning him they made sure to mention it was only this time that I loaned you FTR. So that was that.